They had heard of the Sherman, this oddly shaped, high-riding, fast-moving tank that the Americans seemed to deploy in endless waves. But to many German troops on the ground, particularly those hardened veterans of the Eastern Front or the Afrika Korps, the Sherman was a joke, an underarmored, undergunned machine that posed little threat to the mighty Panzer IVs, Panthers, or the near-mythical Tigers of the Wehrmacht. And so they approached it with a mix of disdain and mild caution, believing that while a Sherman might be dangerous in numbers, it would never match the precision engineering, heavy armor, and killing power of Germany's finest tanks. But what they didn't know, and what many never lived long enough to realize, was that the true power of the Sherman didn't lie in its specifications on paper or its one-on-one dueling capability, but in something far more formidable and far less tangible: a scale of production, a level of reliability, and a doctrine of deployment that made it not just a tank, but a tidal wave, an iron tide that rolled forward over forests, hills, and ruined towns, smashing resistance not with singular brilliance but with relentless force. And for every Tiger or Panther that dominated a field in one moment, there would be 5, then 10, then 20 Shermans appearing on the horizon the next day, each repaired, refueled, and recrewed faster than the Germans could reload or reinforce. And soon it became clear that what the Germans once mocked had become the very machine grinding their armies into dust, because the Sherman, backed by America's industrial might, its deep supply lines, and its logistical perfection, never stopped, never broke down for long, and never ran out of fuel. For behind every tank was a convoy of trucks, a battalion of mechanics, and a doctrine that emphasized mobility, coordination, and fire superiority through volume, not individual might. And the most devastating aspect of all, the thing German tankers couldn't see until it was too late, was that these Shermans carried radios, not just commander radios like German tanks had, but radios in every single vehicle, allowing American tank units to operate with battlefield coordination that bordered on the surgical, moving like a single organism, calling in artillery, flanking with air support, and engaging in combined arms maneuvers that left isolated German tanks, no matter how powerful, surrounded, cut off, and destroyed with shocking efficiency. And to make matters worse, the Shermans adapted. New variants emerged with better guns, improved armor, and specialized roles, from the 76mm high-velocity models to the fearsome Firefly armed with a British 17-pounder that could penetrate even the thickest German armor. And while German commanders boasted of kill ratios, the battlefield told a different story, one of attrition, where every lost Sherman was replaced within days, and every lost Tiger could mean the end of a unit's mobility. And so, German soldiers, once smug in their belief of technological superiority, began to watch with growing dread as the Shermans came rolling in, not in ones or twos, but in columns, coordinated, covered by artillery and aircraft, their crews confident, well-trained, and well-fed. And what they failed to grasp until it was far too late was that the Sherman's greatest weapon wasn't its gun or armor but the sheer system that supported it, a war machine that reached across oceans, with spare parts, fuel, drums, replacement tracks, and even spare engines arriving faster than the Germans could retreat. And as town after town fell, from Normandy to the Seine, from Metz to the Rhine, German infantrymen and tank crews alike began to understand that this tank, which they had once scorned, had become the face of their defeat, and the memory of its engine roar became a harbinger of death, because no matter how many were knocked out, they always returned, more of them, better, faster, rolling over, rubble and corpses alike. And the myth of German armored supremacy cracked beneath the weight of thousands of Shermans that never stopped advancing. And even in the last months of the war, as ammunition ran low and morale crumbled, the Shermans remained tireless, crossing bridges, fording rivers, flanking entrenched positions, not with fanfare but with an efficiency that turned the war's tide with every turn of the tread. And when the surrender came and silence finally fell, German officers, many of whom had once proudly described the Sherman as inferior, were forced to admit in their memoirs and interrogations that the American tank, though imperfect in isolation, had been unstoppable in execution, and that the machine they mocked had crushed them not by being the best, but by being the most, the most deployed, the most supported, the most repaired, and ultimately, the most feared.